Hey everybody. It has been a minute since I have hopped on a live. So I was scrolling back through, going through my strategic plan for my business, and I just can't believe that it's the fourth quarter already. But I wanted to do a quick update because I've been kind of MIA for the last 2 weeks. And it's because I had a tragedy happen in my family, and there was a lot going on there. And so I really appreciate all of you guys reaching out to me with your kind words and, checking in on me. I do answer every message and email that I get, so I really do thank you for checking in on me. I'm doing better, just kind of navigating some rough waters right now, but I do appreciate all of the thoughtful messages. And I got to thinking a lot about this year and just what's really important. I mean, that's kind of what I've been focusing on during my time in quarantine. And I realized yesterday that I have been in quarantine for 7 straight months. So that's just insane to me. And as I was going over my strategic plan for my business, I realized that, I still have one more quarter to make it count, and so do all of you. And I thought it would be kind of fun to hop on. I promised I would do another Q&A session, so I jotted down some questions from my DMs and some emails that I've gotten and some comments on YouTube. Like I said, I do answer all of them. So if you ever want to ask me any questions, doesn't matter if it's relevant to Truthatude or to my business or to the podcast or just me in general, I do answer those. So I wanted to kind of answer some questions that I get pretty frequently, and then also just some questions that I thought were pretty relevant to what's going on or some recent content that I put out. But before I do that, I wanted to quickly say that I'm going to be doing these Q&As more often because people seem to like them and I enjoy them. And I am following some advice from a business colleague of mine to insert more of myself into my brand. And for me, it seems a little self-indulgent, so I don't put my face out there a lot. I don't hop on to stories a lot. I push out a lot of content, but you rarely don't really see much of my face. And it's just because I don't know, that's just not my personality. But I'm gonna be trying for all of you because you guys have been asking more and more personal questions and asking, to see me a little bit more. So I will give you what you ask for. So one of the first questions that I want to talk about is during one of my last live events, it was virtual, of course, we were talking about confidence and confident women and how there is kind of a subculture of women who project this boss babe persona, or, they act like they're super confident, but then they tear down other women, or they ridicule other women, or pick apart other women in different ways. And one of the women in my workshop asked me, how do you deal with those women? And, they seem like they're hyper confident or they have too much confidence. And actually what I would say, and what I did say to her, was those women are projecting a false sense of confidence, or they're basing their confidence on some surface level or lifestyle level element. They've got all of their confidence wrapped up in one space of their life. Maybe they're super fit and that's where all their confidence comes from, and so they degrade women who aren't necessarily super fit. Or maybe they're super successful in their career and they look down on women who are still climbing their way up through their goals. So my answer to that is, if a woman is truly confident in herself all the way around, and she's got deeply rooted confidence, which is something I work with in my workshops, if a woman has deeply rooted confidence and it's based on the full circle of all of the things that your confidence is made up of. If a woman is truly, truly confident, she doesn't have the time or the energy or the space to bring down other women. And that is the truth. I really do believe that truly confident women and empowered women do not have the capacity or the time or the interest in bringing down other women. So when women pick at each other, it's usually because there's something going on internally that they need to work on, and they're projecting it outwards to other women. So if you encounter those hyper confident women and those boss bitches and those bad bitches or whatever, and you witness them kind of degrading other women or bringing other women down, just know that one, it has nothing to do with you, and two, that they really have some kind of internal issue that they need to work on. And honestly, you need to focus on yourself. Don't worry about how other women present themselves, and if they're projecting this hyper, false confidence, then that's on them, and I hope that they do the internal work that they need to be working on. So that I get that question kind of a lot in a different forms, but I just thought it would be interesting to talk about that one. So this question, I wrote this down, came from Amber in Louisiana, and she asked me, how do you deal with people in your life that you can't necessarily get rid of? And I've answered this question a lot because this is something that I face all the time. So let's say you have a family member who is incredibly toxic, incredibly abusive, and you can't obviously get rid of them. What you can learn to do is hold them in a peaceful state. So you can accept them for who they are, not condoning their behavior or condoning how they treat you, but just acknowledging, like, that's how they are, that's how they will treat me if I enter their space. So I can't control their behavior, I can't control their personality, their, thoughts, their actions, none of that, but you can control how you show up, or if you show up. So maybe that looks like, if you have a family gathering and you know that person's going to be there, you try not to interact with them. And if they do interact with you, you de-escalate the conversation, whatever it is. And trust me, I know this, especially in Latino culture where family is everything. But a lot of times, at least in the case of my situation, the family, the relatives, that was the most poisonous atmosphere for me. And I had to break away from that, mentality that is so prevalent in Latino culture that, no matter what, that's your blood. But for me, I finally had to break away from that because I realized that the family members that, I'm supposed to be there for, thick and thin, whatever, they were toxic to my health and to, my personal growth. And so I don't believe in that mentality. And if you're in a situation where there's a person that you can't necessarily walk away from or can't really take out of your life, learn to hold them in a peaceful state. You can control your reactions to them. You cannot control their behaviors. Don't try to change people, because we all know how hard it is to change ourselves. Imagine the challenge it is trying to change another person. It's a waste of energy. So focus on yourself and how you show up to that person. And I advocate all the time for women to communicate their boundaries clearly. Regardless of whether or not they think they're going to offend somebody, you have to learn to advocate for yourself, because you're the one walking in your shoes every day. So learn to hold people in a peaceful state, and that just means don't let them take your peace. Don't let them get a rise out of you. Distance yourself from them as much as you can. And if you can't get rid of them, like maybe it's your boss, right? You need that job. Now, you can always get a different job, but if the time and the situation doesn't permit you to leave your job right away, you can learn to hold your boss in a peaceful state. I don't know if you guys just noticed that, but the clouds just covered the sun really quickly. I digress. So another question I got from T in Mississippi: how do you start to feel like yourself again I feel like I don't recognize myself. I'm a mom of 3, and I feel like my identity is completely wrapped up in my kids. So I feel like this happens a lot with moms, parents in general, moms and dads, that they, obviously kids when they're first born, they take up a lot of space and time and energy, and it can be easy to lose who you are outside of being a parent. And I think that that's why it's so important to really, before you have children, as much as you can, establish a good, diverse lifestyle so that you have a lot of things to anchor you. But also, when you do have children, I think it's really important to learn to maintain those boundaries and to implement structure into your life that makes room for this new challenge and this beautiful blessing that's a child, but also acknowledge and honor that you are an individual that still has needs. Because in the end, we hear it all the time, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you lose yourself and you no longer can be a wife to your husband or to your partner, and you can't be a friend to your friends, and you can't be, a good colleague for your coworkers because you're only a mom, eventually you're going to, your child's going to suffer too, because you are a whole individual with a lot of different things that are important, and you're multifaceted, and that's what benefits your child. So to answer your question, T, how do you start to feel like yourself again? One, I think it's small steps, right? Is there one tiny, tiny little way that you can carve out time specifically for yourself? And I know, especially for single moms, this has got to be impossible. But if there is some way that you can carve out a little bit of time for yourself in your day, even if it's just 1 hour a week, to fully just close yourself off from the world and reconnect with something that you enjoyed before. So whether that's reading or journaling or, something artistic, or going for a walk or yoga or something. I don't recommend TV filling up your time. Like, I will always tell you to read a book versus watching TV, but any time that you can set aside to kind of replenish yourself, that's what's going to make you feel like yourself again. And I know that this happens a lot in relationships, where I think women are kind of guilty of this, where we kind of latch onto the relationship and we want to devote so much to it that we kind of start to let things go that were important to us. So maybe we stop going to, our weekly night dinner with our girlfriends, or we stop going to yoga class, or we stop running in the morning because we want to spend more time with, our boo. But little by little, you're losing pieces of yourself, and those are all the things that your partner loves about you. That's what makes you who you are. So if you feel yourself kind of losing your sense of self in a relationship, in a job, in, a parental situation, carve out just the tiniest little slice of time for yourself to reconnect with something that mattered to you before you entered that situation. And that's how you can start to, little by little, feel like yourself again. I know for me, I used to be really into crafting and repurposing and painting. I used to paint a lot. And then I just kind of stopped painting. And that's okay. We lose connection with things over time, and then we pick them back up over time. But I started painting again, especially during quarantine. I started painting again, and I love it. It's not something that I do every day, but I definitely think that it's important for me to foster that creativity. And one thing that I want to say too, because I was really kind of bad at this myself, was doing something that you enjoy simply because you enjoy it. And not every hobby needs to be a hustle. So I'll say that again because I think it's just worth repeating. Not every hobby needs to be a hustle. And I love Etsy, and I love, all the female entrepreneurs out there, and I love my makers and my creators and my builders. I love all of them. But I had the habit of thinking, and the mindset of thinking, if I can do something well, I should get paid to do it. And I think a lot of us have that, especially when we're trying to make a little bit of extra money on the side. So we turn a passion or a hobby into a side hustle, and then we get burnt out. So my encouragement for you, and this kind of ties back into your question about feeling like yourself again, is there some activity, some creative outlet, some, physical activity that you can do simply for the pure enjoyment of it and not making money or making progress or having it related to any of your goals, just something that you do for the pure joy of it. So that's what I would say about that. And then I have 2 more questions, and then I will talk about a couple other things I wanted to touch on. So this comes from Amy in California, and she asks, I recently moved into my own place. It's the first time I'm living on my own, and I'm really enjoying creating my space, and I have a lot of relatives and friends that want to come over, but I'm not ready to open up my space to them. Is it normal to want to keep something you're proud of or something you're successful at to yourself? So is it normal to keep some little success to yourself? I would say absolutely. I know that there are a lot of times where we do something great and we want to shout it out from the rooftops, but then there are other instances where we are really excited about something, but we kind of want to keep it to ourselves, and we feel kind of ashamed that we don't want to share it. So this was perfect example was me and this guy I was dating. I was dating this guy for almost a year, and I didn't tell anybody. And 1, it's because I'm a private person, and 2, I don't put my relationship on social media at all. And if there's one little nugget of advice you can take from this, keep your relationships off social media. But I was dating this guy, and we were in a wonderful relationship for almost a year, and I told my 2 best friends about it, maybe 1 or 2 other people, but I kept it to myself. And it wasn't because I was ashamed of my relationship. It wasn't because I was, hiding the guy that I was dating. It wasn't for any other reason other than I believe that there are some special things that you should just keep to yourself and enjoy and relish in. And if that is the case with your new apartment, enjoy your new space for a little while and make it your own and make it cozy and relish in this new success and this new, milestone in your life, especially living on your own. I think every woman on the planet should live by herself for at least a year in her life, because it is the most transformational experience you'll ever have. More on that in another video in 2 weeks. I'm talking about living on your own. But yes, it's totally normal and it's okay to not want to share every win or every success or every special thing in your life with the world. I think social media has caused this pandemic, I guess I shouldn't use that word, this epidemic of oversharing. And really, I'm happy for you and your successes, and I'm happy for your kids and their first day of school and all the pictures and all the things. I'm happy for you. But it's okay to keep some of that to yourself and enjoy it in the privacy of your own heart. And, for me, when I had my first apartment, I didn't want anybody in my apartment because I liked being alone and having my own comfort and just my serenity and my sacred space. So that's kind of where I came from. But it's totally okay if you're in a new relationship and you want to kind of keep it to yourself for a little while to see kind of how it develops and to foster that special connection. That's okay. If you did something really great and you achieved some goal that you had, it's okay to celebrate in the privacy of your own heart. So I say that's totally normal. I encourage it. Yes, celebrate your wins, but you don't have to spread them out like wildfire, and you don't have to share every detail of your life with everybody. I don't believe in full disclosure to anybody. I will say that 100 times over and over and over, that you and what you know in your heart, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else knows about you or what story you get to tell people. None of that matters. Just enjoy your life in this, sacred space of your own heart and your own home. So that's what I would say to that. So that was a great question. Okay, this one comes from I'm gonna butcher this. Angela. I don't know if you're male or female, Angela, but thank you for the question. Simple question. What do I do to stay motivated, especially during COVID? So me and COVID have had a unique relationship this past 7 months. So I actually got really sick at the beginning, and I had no idea what it was, and then turns out it was this fucking virus. But the first couple months I was scared, I think, like everybody else. And the unique thing I think that I experienced was I noticed that a lot of people were complaining about being bored. And I don't ever experience that. I don't know how one person could ever be bored. I have so much to do with my time and so many things I want to do with my time that I don't even remember the last time I've ever been bored. But I know that was a struggle for some people, not knowing what to do with themselves in this time that we've been home. And then the lack of motivation. So one thing that I recognized early on, especially on social media, was kind of this toxic positivity and productivity push out there that was like, make the most of this time, and you're never going to have, this amount of time to yourself to be at home and do anything you want, so you should make the most of this time. And if you look back, when everything opens up, are you going to look back and see what you did with all the time that you had? And now I think that there's two ways to look at that. One, I feel like productivity shaming is just awful, and everybody's dealing with this pandemic in their own way, so, make space for that. But also, it is wonderful to have this luxury of all this excess time, but it's not like we have all this luxury of this excess time and we're not going through an extremely uncertain, stressful, scary situation. If they were two separate things and we were just given all this excess time, then yes, I would say make the most of it and do what you can and enjoy your life and, do things that you haven't been able to do or whatever. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't an isolated thing. It was, yes, we have all this free time and we're home, but it's scary and we don't know what we're going to do with ourselves. And, it was just so uncertain. So I don't think that that's fair to push people into productivity shaming and, this toxic positivity garbage that's out there in this messaging. I just don't think that's fair. So the first couple of months, it was hard for me to kind of stay motivated because I was just honoring my wellness, my mental health, and just making sure that every day I was okay. Because I'm somebody who's dealt with depression my entire life. I lived a very traumatic early, childhood and adulthood. And so my mental health is priority number one. And so for me to stay motivated, my main motivation was staying well and checking in on people to make sure that they were staying well. So that was my main motivation. And then also just trying to find balance in my day and honor where I'm at. So that's my encouragement to people who are struggling with motivation. Your best looks different every single day. So just honor that. Sometimes you get up and you just want to hit the ground running and you want to do 5,000 things and you want to be like next level productive. And then the next day you might just be like, oh, I can't. Like, I'm going to lay in bed today and I'm maybe get up and do a couple of things, and that's okay. Honor where you are at. There is no sense in pushing yourself. And this comes from level 5,000 pusher. Like, that was a habit I had to break because I would just overextend myself and then feel like garbage. So one of the ways that I stay motivated for sure is every single day I practice gratitude. And I know that it's kind of repetitive and you hear this everywhere, but there's a reason that you're hearing it everywhere, because it works. And especially in times where you find it hard to be thankful for things, or you find it hard to find stuff to be grateful for, go back to the basics. Be grateful for the fact that you woke up today, because you know what? I'll tell you what, last week somebody in my family didn't wake up. So it gives you perspective. So when you're struggling to find things to be grateful for, go back to the basics. Be thankful that you have a place to live. Be thankful that you have food in your fridge. Be thankful that you woke up that day. Those are basics. Those are 3 things you can be grateful for every single day. So gratitude is what keeps me motivated. Meditation keeps me centered, keeps me motivated. And then also, I revisit my goals every day. I look at what I'm trying to create for my life, what I'm trying to create for my business, and what I'm trying to create for my relationships every single day. And one thing that has really helped keep me balanced and keep me motivated is to make sure that I have one personal connection every single day. I have made relationships and connections a priority in my life, and I think that that's something that we've been lacking as a society. We check our Facebook, 5,000 times a day. We, post on Facebook and Instagram a million times a day. But how many times a day do you actually just text a friend to check in on them? How many times a week do you have an actual phone call? So just maintaining my connections with people has been a pure source of motivation for me, especially somebody who deals with abandonment issues, not having good family support growing up and not always having people show up for me the way that I felt I needed. It's really important for me to foster those connections. And one thing that I've learned, especially for people out there who may feel like I do sometimes, where people don't ever show up for you or you feel this sense of abandonment, one thing that I've learned to deal with is that I can be that space for somebody. So maybe people don't always show up for me. I can certainly be the person that shows up for somebody else. And that's kind of what motivates me, is who can I show up for today? That's a way to keep me motivated. Now, if you're talking about just like your day-to-day, what do you do to stay motivated? Reading. I read like nobody's business. And I know that it's not like a popular thing, but I read this thing the other day or a couple months ago that said, and I might offend some people, and I don't intend to, but whatever, take it how you take it, that people who don't read are as bad off as people who can't read. And I read this statistic that was something like 58% of people don't read another book after they graduate high school. I was floored when I read that. And to me, if you have not read a book since you were in high school, man, you're missing out. You're missing out on so much knowledge and motivation. And so I read. One of my main forms of motivation is I read every single day, at least 10, 15, 30 minutes a day. Every single day I read. And if you're not a reader, I highly encourage you to start reading. Pick up any book, a real book, not a magazine, not a Kindle thing or digital whatever, not scrolling through social media, not reading articles. Read an actual book. And if you need some book recommendations, go to my Instagram page, because I have an entire section of books that I would recommend to every human. So those are the questions that were sent to me. I hope that answered the people. So really quick, I just want to talk about the podcast that's coming out this Thursday. So it's the second episode of the Insider Podcast. I brought my really good buddy Adam on, and we are talking about how to approach women. And men, if you're out there and you're listening, you do not want to miss this episode, because I understand the struggle is real for you. It's a very fine line between being flirtatious and showing interest and not being a creeper. So learn how to not be a creeper. Listen to the Insider Podcast this Thursday. Ladies, you want to hear this too, because I know that I'm breaking girl code a little bit. I'm sharing some of our secrets, but come on, we know that guys need help, and men give other men terrible dating advice. Not always, but a lot of the time. So I'm just trying to help us all out and make it a better dating world for everybody. So another exciting thing is the anniversary of Truthatude is coming up, and it has been nearly 2 years since I launched the Truthatude blog that morphed into a YouTube channel that morphed into this coaching platform. And I'm just so excited about where it started, from a shabby little WordPress website that I built myself and was honestly hideous, to this, empowerment platform to coach women and to offer my story as, a little nugget of, advice and motivation for people, and to doing a podcast. And it has just grown over the past 2 years. And my goal for this year is to level up in every way for Truthatude and to connect more with my audience, to do more content that you want to see, that's important to you. It looks like the confidence, theme is sticking with people, and that's what they want to hear about. So that's what I'm going to keep talking about. And I'm just really excited, and I'm just really thankful for the people who've been with me over this 2-year journey. Truthatude was actually a long time in the making, and the fact that I actually put it out there and it's continuing to grow and get love and support is just so humbling and exciting. So I'm really excited for that. I'm gonna be doing a cool little celebration on Instagram and Facebook on October 26th, which is the anniversary of Truthatude, so just stay tuned for that. A couple days before is my birthday, so it was my birthday present to myself in 2018 to launch Truthatude. That was what I wanted to do more than anything, and so for my birthday, I usually take a day to reflect and to kind of review my life goals. And I wanted to share a birthday tradition with you, because if any of you have a birthday coming up, or maybe something that you can implement for yourself, this is something that I've done for the past, 10 years probably. But I usually spend my actual birthday alone, and I like to take myself out to a nice lunch. I usually buy myself a new journal, but this year I'm buying myself a full focus planner, and I'm so excited about it because I am just planner queen and I love it. But I usually take some time out to journal and have a date with myself and write down the things that I've learned over the past year and the things that I hope to learn in the next year. And I use my birthday as my fiscal year. That's how I set my goals. That's how I build my business around. I just take it as a day to kind of really decide what I want my life to look like and how things have changed. And so I think for this year, it's certainly going to be a great reflection, because everything that I planned for 2020 definitely got kind of side railed like everybody else. So just a little nugget for your birthday. Maybe you take a day to yourself and just reflect and really get some introspection into yourself of what you want for your life and for your family and for your relationships and your career. So that's what I would say. So I hope you guys will celebrate my birthday with me. I have some more on that later. And then also just planning the fourth quarter of my business and planning out more content for you guys. I'm really excited about the things that are to come. I'm going to be doing these Q&A videos every month. So please, if you have a question or a thought you want to share with me, definitely send me a message. Like I said, I answer all my DMs, I answer all my emails, I answer all my YouTube comments. So please leave me a question about anything, whether it's related to content or not, or if you just want to know more about me. I will share your question in the next Q&A video, so don't be shy. And then also, one last thing I wanted to share with you guys. If you have not attended my confidence workshop, I highly encourage you to sign up for it. Obviously, it's going to be digital, but that's been a blessing because I've been able to open it up to more people across the country. I normally do this event live, but since, I'm honoring the wellness of everybody and still keeping it virtual, you get the chance to attend if you are not located in Florida. So I will leave the link all over my website. It's on Facebook. It'll be in the bio of my Instagram, but the link to register. So the confidence workshop is October 22nd. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely sign up to attend. I try to keep these groups pretty small so that they can foster an intimate conversation and really be conducive to people opening up and to learning more about confidence. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And then I will also be posting something really exciting. I'm going to be hosting a group specific for Facebook but you are welcome to join it. And every month we are going to tackle a new issue of confidence and really do a deeper dive. I want to get more connected to my community and to my tribe, and I want to give more of my personal time to you. So that is going to be the space in which I do that. So as always, if you have questions, please message me, comment. If you haven't checked out any of the YouTube content, head over to the channel. If you like what you see, subscribe. If you know any friends that are struggling, or if you like my content and you want to share it, tag your friend. Shameless plug. Don't forget the podcast is coming up this Thursday. So that is it for today. I hope you found some of these questions helpful. If you have any other questions, obviously you should message. But with that being said, I will let you guys get back to your day. I hope you have a wonderful